Just 3 games on the main slate for tonight in daily fantasy baseball as they are kind of clearing path for college football, which has a lot of games going on for tonight. And that means we get to do a kind of a fun format once again, where I get to go through every pitcher on the slate and outline whether I want to use them for DFS, whether I want to stack against them, if they're in between and purgatory there, and kind of just outline my thoughts on all these guys. So that's what I do once again for today. Go pitcher by pitcher, break down my thoughts on them, and let you know where my head's at on each and every starter on tonight's slate. Welcome on into the solo shot. That's right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and FanDuel Research. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a managing editor of digital media for FanDuel Research, here to break down Thursday night's 3-game main slate with locks set for 7:05 p.m. Eastern for tonight. Locks at 7:05, but the second game does not begin until 9:40. So a lot of time to late swap in there, depending on how things go in that first game, which is always fun. So be sure to take full advantage of the things afforded to you with the schedule for tonight. No weather notes for tonight, and I think that's actually pertinent, the fact there are no weather notes, because the temperature gap between all 3 stadiums is basically non-existent. So you can kind of treat things pretty close to straight up, where you can just kind of go with your favorite offenses and not fret as much as you typically would about things such as park factor. Highest temperature 76, lowest temperature 71. So kind of a nice relief tonight to have one less thing to think long and hard about for tonight. We'll dive on into what that means and more, and go through my favorite pitchers and all the pitchers in just 1 second. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to the Number Fire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. The Solo Shot is continuing throughout September during NFL season to the end of the regular season. So we will be here with you on the Solo Shot each and every weekday through the end of the regular season. In addition to our NFL podcasts, Daily ISO with Tom Vecchio is coming back this year as well. We got UFC for select events via Austin Swaim, and all that right here in the same podcast feed. So go search for the Number Fire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify as well. Get on your game day gear, because college football is back and FanDuel wants you to get in on the fun. Right now, all customers can get a no sweat bet for week 1. Just place any week 1 college football game and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. Bet on money lines, spreads, totals, and more. Just visit the FanDuel Sportsbook app and kick off the college football season with America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Arizona. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In Connecticut, 1-888-789-7777. Or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. In Wyoming and Kansas, 1-800-522-4700. Or in Kansas, ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana is 1-877-770-STOP. In Maryland, mdgamblinghelp.org. In West Virginia, 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Hope is here. In Massachusetts, gamblinghelplinema.org, or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. And in New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-AND-WY or text HOPE-NY. Let's dig in now to the pitching rankings for tonight. Only 3 pitchers for tonight with salaries of $8,000 or higher. Those guys are Spencer Strider at $12,000, Lance Lynn facing Strider out west at $95,000, then Braxton Garrett taking on the Nationals here at $8,700. The way we'll do this is we'll start off with the guys I'd consider as a pitcher first and rank them that way, and then we'll transition into purgatory pitchers and those I want to stack against. As far as the top pitching option, it's really between Strider and Lynn, as you probably could have guessed. I have Strider way ahead of Lynn in my strikeout projections, but Lynn does come with a lower salary. Because of the teams I want to stack and the low salaries they carry, I am okay ranking Strider first, and I think I can get there on him for tonight. Obviously, he is facing the Dodgers here, and it's a tough matchup, but it's actually an easier one than what Lynn gets facing the Braves. It's a 111 WRC plus for the opponent for Strider, 121 for Lynn, and a much higher ISO as well. Both strikeout rates are pretty low here. The Dodgers are at 21% in that regard, but Strider has been on a tear in that department recently. He's cut back on his changeup usage over his past 9 starts now, and he has a 37% strikeout rate in that time, and he's letting up just a 29% hard hit rate. So again, trying to counteract a very good offense, getting strikeouts and suppressing hard contact is the best formula you could ask for. I had Strider projected for 8.9 strikeouts here. That is lower than his typical mark, but it's still pretty high. So I think that Strider is worth the $12,000 and a guy I am very willing to be on for tonight. As for Lynn, you likely remember that I was pretty high on him for a long stretch. He was bathing in strikeouts, but he was also letting up a lot of runs. So it was not to my benefit that I was on Lynn for a lot of those. I don't think the Dodgers wanted the latter part, letting up a lot of runs, to continue. So when Lynn came to LA, they had him cut back on his cutter usage. And I get that because the cutter gets whiffs, but it also does let up a lot of loud contact. The expected slugging percentage against that slider is 498, or that cutter is 498, according to Baseball Savant. So this move to have Lynn throw fewer sliders, throw them more selectively, is probably a good move by the Dodgers to cut back on the hard contact and the homers. It's just eaten into Lynn's strikeout rate quite a bit because his strikeout rate is 21% across 5 starts with the Dodgers. Some of that's because he has faced low strikeout teams, but he did have 1 dud in the mix too. But that was also his most recent start. He is at home tonight, and if Strider does slip, it's pretty likely that Lynn is the guy who benefits as the second best option for tonight. So I'm going to rank Lynn second, but I do think there is a pretty significant gap between him and Strider. So to me, as far as guys I actually feel good about using a pitcher, it really is those two. I know the matchups are tough, but I feel like that's the way I would want to go. Let's talk now about Braxton Garrett, because you may be a bit confused as to why I'm not itchy to put Garrett above Lynn given their respective matchups, because Garrett is facing the Nationals, and he's a good pitcher, but it's not a high strikeout spot. The Nationals have an 18% strikeout rate against lefties, which is the lowest in the slate by a good amount. Garrett has gone back to throwing more four-seam fastballs recently, and it's cut back on his strikeouts a bit, and the Marlins also are not letting Garrett go super deep in games yet. He has not thrown more than 90 pitches across his past 4 starts. Now, he could buck that here because the Marlins need wins, and it's a good matchup for him, but it's not a guarantee. Plus, the Nationals just saw Garrett last week, and he went 6 innings there, let up 3 earned runs with 3 strikeouts. So not the best showing. He now gets to face him again, and he has to go on the road. So that's why, to me, if I could put Garrett in purgatory and not use him as a pitcher or stack against him, I really would like to do so. The problem is I'm not sure I can, given both Strider and Lynn are in such difficult matchups. There is downside potential there, and although the Nationals are a low strikeout team, they're not a great team either. Better against lefties for sure than they are overall, but still not a big power team. Don't put the ball in the air a bunch, and they don't walk either. So if the Braves-Dodgers game just shoots out, there's the potential for Garrett to be the highest scoring guy in the slate. But, I'm not super enthusiastic about it. So I'd like to put him in purgatory. Just not sure if I realistically can do that. The one team with an unlisted starter for tonight is the Giants. It seems likely that'll be Alex Wood in long relief behind an opener, which would make the Padres pretty interesting. We just don't know if that'll be the case yet. But Wood has struggled even in his new role. He has 8 outings with reduced pitch counts, and he has a 4.80 skill interactive ERA in that time with just a 14% strikeout rate. His batted ball data is better, so that's why his ERA is 3.15, and that's part of why the Padres are lower on this list, the batted ball data specifically, in addition to the fact that I don't actually know it will be Lynn or Wood for sure. And Wood did hold some really tough teams at bay in this time. Faced the Braves twice. I believe he faced the Rangers in there as well. So, he pitched pretty well. But the lack of strikeouts could haunt him eventually. Sean Manaea could also be an option here. He last pitched on Saturday in relief, but he's also lefty, and the Padres have a 133 WRC plus against lefties on the current active roster. That's the best mark on the slate. They have a 199 ISO. So I think that the Padres work despite the ambiguity, but I have to rank them behind my top 2 stacks of the night. And by process of elimination, the top 2 stacks are going to be the Marlins and the Giants. We'll start things off here. The Marlins, they're going to be the number 2 stack, just behind the Giants. They're facing Yohan Adon, starting for the Nationals, and Adon's doing some things better than what he did last year. But there are still some issues in his profile. And the big thing is hard contact. Across 4 starts this year, Adon has let up a 47% hard hit rate with a 44% fly ball rate. Now, that bad batted ball data hasn't always hurt Adon. He actually held this exact offense, the Marlins, scoreless for 6 innings last week. But he did let up 6 runs to the Phillies. He had a short start against the A's before that as well. And now the Marlins get to see him again. That's a benefit. I also think that some of the plate discipline numbers for Adon could regress a bit. He wasn't necessarily thriving in that department down in AAA. So, yes, Adon was awesome against the Marlins last week, but I'm not sure that'll carry over. It makes the Marlins, at least in my eyes, one of the better stacks of the night. And it does help, too, that they've got some guys we actually want to use here, more than they did earlier on this year. Jazz Chisholm being healthy, Jake Berger brings a bit of juice to this offense as well. Now that he's, getting full playing time, he's maintained the good numbers, again, even against righties this year, batting in the middle part of that order. So that's beneficial, too. We haven't gone to the Marlins very often, but on this slate, I think we do need to go that way, and they're very worthy of our attention. Finally, let's finish things up here with the Giants. They're facing Pedro Avila, and Avila struggled in AAA pretty badly. His ERA down there was 8.57. His xFIP was 6.42. Now, Avila goes to the majors, and he's pitched well so far. He's getting whiffs, and he's getting ground balls. I just don't know whether that's sticky yet. Across 27 and 1/3 innings, Avila has a 3.40 skill interactive ERA with a 3.69 expected ERA. But he's still letting up hard contact. He has let up a 42% hard hit rate. It was 42% in AAA as well. If Avila keeps getting ground balls, he can live with that. You can let up more hard contact if it's on the ground because it's going to be a single effectively at worst. But the ground ball rate for Avila in AAA was 42%. So the TLDR here is that I'm skeptical that he maintains the numbers that have allowed him to pitch well in a small sample so far in the majors. He's facing the Giants. His offense has definitely fallen off from where they were earlier on this year, but they're still not terrible. So I'm on board with stacking them here and feel like the Giants are a quality stack for tonight. My favorite stack that I like among all the options for tonight. It also does help. We got Mike Yastrzemski back from the IL. Yastrzemski probably going to bat a bit lower in the order. Not a ton of confidence from them in him yet, but he has a 222 ISO against righties when healthy this year. So it's not been a great year for Yastrzemski at all. It's been, I would say, kind of a lost year, honestly. But I do think that there's been power there, and power is what we want from a DFS perspective. It also does help that this Giants team does not have high salaries, nor do the Marlins. So if you want to get to Strider, you stack the Giants, stack the Marlins, log out. It's a pretty easy slate in that regard, which is why I feel good putting Strider above Lynn as my top pitcher of the night. So again, top pitcher is going to be Spencer Strider, followed by Lance Lynn, and then maybe Braxton Garrett. Top stacks in order are going to be the Giants 1, Marlins 2, Padres 3. That's it. That is every pitcher and every offense on tonight's slate for MLB DFS. Tomorrow should be a more robust slate once again, back once again here on the same feed to break down that one. So make sure you're subscribed to the Number Fire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed to get that one right as it is posted. If you got any questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JIMSANNES. You can also follow FanDuel Research at FanDuel Research. We have a free play up for this week for college football week 1, the main slate on Saturdays. If you want to play some college football DFS with no entry fee, try to win some prizes, $1,000 in total prizes over at FanDuel Research. Go to FanDuel.com/research to get yourself entered for the Saturday main slate. Lock for that is at noon Eastern. We'll talk to you all once again tomorrow. Enjoy tonight. This has been the solo shot right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.